Hello and welcome to Sound and Vision, episode 1. Once again, I'm your host, Sir Ian James, and yet again, I am joined by my fabulous, incredibly talented, incredibly beautiful co-host, Miss Hope Wade.
I like that intro. Thank you.
I've been working on it.
Hello. When did you get knighted, by the way?
Before we come on air.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. Today's subject for episode 1 is the classic 1975 Spielberg masterpiece, Jaws.
I'm scared already. I don't know if I can do this.
You should be.
I hope there's no water around me.
I doubt it. Anyway, to start the show, I'm going to ask you, first of all, when was your first experience of watching Jaws? How old were you and where were you?
I was very young. I don't know how old I was, but I remember being very young. And I did have some Jaws toys that I played with in my swimming pool. I have a picture. I have the proof. I was playing with a shark.
Was this before or after you've seen the movie, though?
I don't know if I've seen the movie because I am deathly frightened of the water. Seawater.
So these kind of toys were given to you after you've seen the movie?
Probably. And even though I've had these toys, they freaked me out.
Okay.
Anything shark related freaks me out. And it's probably because of this movie.
Yeah. Wasn't a cinema experience for you, though, was that?
No, I was really young. Probably watched it on TV.
On TV.
Mm-hmm. Because they had like multiple reruns of it in the summertime.
Yeah.
Seasonal. That's probably where I got my seasonal watch. I'm a seasonal
God.
watcher of movies.
That's a whole nother show. Yeah, Hope Wade and a seasonal watches.
Yep. Christmas movies at Christmas time only.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Jaws in the summer.
Yep. And Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm.
And Sleepaway Camp.
And Sleepaway Camp.
And anything with the sun.
Anything with camp. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, speaking for myself, the first experience of Jaws was watching it once again, as you'll probably hear week after week, with my dad.
Yeah.
I remember being 7, I think. I'd say 6 or 7 when I first seen it, which was in the mid-80s, long after the cinema run. Once again, same as you, played on telly. Mm-hmm. And I remember my dad, again, letting me watch one of these films with him. And I remember this time, I remember sitting on his lap and him putting his hand in front of my eyes, because my mum was worried because she'd heard this big kerfuffle about Jaws and stuff. She thought, this one might scare him. Mm-hmm. So my dad let me watch it from his lap with his hand in front of my eyes, and every time I cover your eyes if something bad happens. But he'd always like kind of open the little gap between the index finger just to let me peep through. Like, I'll let him see it because he does want to see it. Really.
Yeah.
And I totally loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely, and still love it now.
Yeah.
To the point where I'd say it's probably definitely is one of my 10 favourite films.
Yeah.
10 favourite movies ever made.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it did, because it's very effective.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't have a lot of blood and guts and gore that people are used to these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but me and my mate used to say at school, we used to say that we thought it had a lot of blood for a PG.
Yeah.
Like you said, comparable to today's movies, completely not. But for its time, and the fact that we used to make the joke that it was a PG. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that little Alex Kinter boy gets killed and Quint gets bitten.
And the arm floating up.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot going on for
PG. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I recall, the movie was made in 1975, the year I was born. So yeah, I was probably around your age when I saw it.
Yeah. And it's like
the 80s.
It's the big first summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
It's changed the whole of the new Hollywood thing, which was going on at the time. There was a lot of, I say independent movies, but big studios were taking risks at that point, making smaller movies. And even though Universal again is a big studio, it put out Jaws. It financed Jaws, and it was meant to be not quite the film that it became. So to everyone's surprise that the film even got made, let alone become the phenomenon that it did.
Yeah, I remember watching This was probably, I don't know, five years ago or so. They used to have a thing on one of the channels during Halloween, and they would do a countdown of the 100 scariest movies.
Okay.
And Jaws was number one.
Which scene? Because there's many to pick from. Do you remember?
No, the 100 scariest movies of all
not
time.
scenes.
No,
Okay.
not scenes. 100 scariest movies, horror movies.
Okay, I need to pay attention.
Of all time, yes, please. And
It's late.
It was Jaws was number one as the scariest film.
Of course.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, we watched it recently, not for the sake of the show. Don't worry, fans. I'm not just trying to catch up on something like.
No, we had to expose it to your son.
We did, yeah, because he's now reached the age of 8 and he hasn't seen Jaws, and I feel guilty because I've seen it, like I said earlier, when I was about 6 or 7.
And this is the age that you start easing him into the terrifying things.
Well, we're trying.
And having him have nightmares, maybe. I doubt it.
Well, no, but the good news is that, you know, as an little 8-year-old who's brought up on WWF and a million action movies, and Bruce Lee movies, don't let your 8-year-old watch these films. But we actually sat there and watched Jaws and absolutely loved it, which was obviously a great pleasure to me to see his little face.
It was fun.
Kind of, yeah.
He said, I quote, "It's not a scary film, but a jump film. It makes you jump."
Gene has created his own phrase.
Yeah, it's a jump film.
It's a jump film.
Not a scary film, but jump.
It's a jump movie.
Definitely, I would agree.
But it's nice that it's still doing his job, you know, because we're 40 years later now. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the film's still working on an 8-year-old. Because I worried before we watched it that he might find it slightly
boring.
Yeah, because, again, with Jaws, when I ever explain it to anyone, they always kind of say, it always felt to me like it was a film of 2 halves. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's a 2-hour movie. And this is not to the exact minute, but the first hour is basically a kind of brought up to date B movie. I always think.
Yeah.
That it's, you know, like almost like a Jack Arnold movie, which is appropriate seeing it was made at Universal, where Jack Arnold made these films in the 50s. But you've almost got this small town, even though it's based on a book, so you can forget the Jack Arnold stuff, but I still think it resembles a Jack Arnold movie. You know, the first hour, basically, then you have this small town, there's having these shark attacks. So basically, the first hour is a monster movie. That's how I always say. This is just my take on it. The first hour feels like a monster movie. And then the second hour of the movie is just it's free act, you know, it's just free characters on a boat for an hour, and that's what it is. And and then you get this kind of, you know, interaction between these 3 completely different characters representing 3 different completely types of the male, which makes it even more interesting to me, especially as an adult watching it. And I think we can all relate to little parts of each of those 3 characters on that boat at the end. But I thought with Gene watching it, my son, that I thought, you know, the first hour will be fine. You know, it's people getting eaten on a beach and, you know, John Williams' brilliant music and stuff. And then you get to the second hour and I just kind of thought he's going to zone out there because there's going to be so much talking and character based, you know, writing.
Yeah. That
he's going to slightly fall asleep until, you know, the good stuff right at the end. But
he
didn't. He loved it, sat there, he was enthralled. It kept his attention. It exactly did the job that I hoped it would, and it still did. So salute Steven Spielberg for his movie still working.
We didn't get a chance to ask him what he thought about the shark.
No, we didn't. But to be fair to him, this time it didn't look like a cartoon, did it?
Yeah, no. As he said, the crocodile movie.
It did. In recent weeks,
CGI.
In recent weeks, we've been kind of breaking them into slightly lesser. Very lesser horror films, where, you know, CGI is the order of the day, which, as anyone who knows me, I absolutely can't stand CGI. And he's quick to point it out every time, isn't he? This looks rubbish, this looks fake, that looks like a cartoon. So, no complaints for Bruce.
No.
Bruce the shark.
Yeah. Well, that's good. He was effective to me when I was a kid.
He's still effective. You know, this big rubbery looking thing. Yeah, you know, you can see the limitations now a little. I mean, I see it the other day, but like I've always said, you know, no matter how old a movie gets, for me, I never judge it on how it looks.
Yeah.
You know, I never judge effects on being old. You know, I just roll with it, and I'm still the same now. If I see things that are not quite perfect in a movie, for technical limitations like that, it never affects my appreciation of the movie. You know, I always accept everything for its time, and I'm never that harsh on any movie for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. So Jaws.
So Jaws, yeah, 1975, Steven Spielberg's second movie made for the big screen. So Spielberg was no name at this point. He was a jobbing director for television at Universal, where he shot famously, did he shoot the pilot of Columbo, or did he shoot episode? He shot a Columbo episode early on, and he also shot the pilot, which is what I'm thinking now, for Night Gallery, Rod Serling's follow-up to Twilight Zone. Which is like his first jobs are all in TV. Now, anyone who knows anything about the movie brats of the 1970s will know that he belongs to an elite group of directors who were roughly the same age and all had the same appreciation for cinema. And I could rattle on about this whole thing forever, but I won't. But he was the one that worked in TV. You know, you had George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, Francis Coppola. Spielberg was the one that worked in TV. So I'm not sure what the others all thought of him for that.
Yeah.
And so he was, you know, a jobbing TV director, finding work on TV. And at this point, he had made a couple of TV. That was Bruce. A couple of TV movies. I forget the title of the one, which is terrible of me. But obviously, most famously, Duel, which did really well and got released at cinemas in Europe.
We had a lot of good TV movies.
You did, yeah. I mean, that's a whole show on its own.
Yeah.
We could talk.
Yeah, because you kind of think about it now, it's kind of reverted back to TV, if you want to say Netflix, and a lot of big actors go to Netflix, which is TV based, not so much at the movies or theaters. So it's kind of making a full circle, I think.
Yeah, and like you said, the American TV movies of that period are really good. There's a lot. All the
big people
Dan
in
Curtis
it.
ones and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So Spielberg comes from TV, makes the Sugarland Express in 1974 for Universal. So he's in the Universal circle at this point, like he was with the TV stuff. I can't remember, this is terrible of me, I can't remember now, because I'm not sat there reading through pages and pages of Wikipedia. I'm trying to draw from the brain. But I can't remember if he was exactly the first. No, he wasn't the first. Dick Richards, I think, was the first choice to direct Jaws, if I remember correctly. I know Spielberg wasn't the first choice.
Okay.
And it's that kind of film. Pretty much everything that's in it almost wasn't in it. You know, there's a lot of happy accidents on that movie.
Yeah.
So the fact that it ever got made anyway in the first place is frankly more shocking than the movie, I think, sometimes. Richard Dreyfuss was offered the script not first. A whole host of actors. I wrote something about this recently, about the original actors that were cast but were considered for this movie. Then I don't get that mixed up. But there was talk of Sterling Hayden, Lee Marvin playing the Quint character, and I'm pretty sure Jeff Bridges and a few younger actors of that period were considered for the Matt Hooper character, and famously Robert Redford was considered for Brody, Sheriff Brody.
Really?
The Everyman. So the Everyman becomes the Hollywood star.
Yeah. That
didn't work out, and like I said, happy accident with a lot of it. That, you know, we've now got the three that we know from the movie, and it works out perfectly well that way. But Richard Dreyfuss was offered the script, and apparently he read through it and didn't particularly care for it. Didn't want to do the movie, and he was coming off the back of a couple of movies that he made that flopped. So he kind of needed the work and forced himself into doing it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I think now, I mean, it's kind of defined who he is as an actor. I think there's a Richard Dreyfuss type now, and I think, you know, that type that he is, I can't think of the word he can go with it.
Annoying?
No. Richard Dreyfuss is not annoying.
He was annoying little shit in that, though.
Yeah, but...
that was his character, I get
absolutely.
that.
And he's an extension of that in Spielberg's kind of follow-up movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where he actually gets the lead in that one, and again plays a very similar character to Hooper in that. And again, it's I don't think he was even first choice for that one either, because I pretty remember reading something about Steve McQueen, which seems frankly bizarre, and I think that Steve McQueen was going to do Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah. But he was, again, I think he read through the script, But Spielberg rolled with Dreyfuss, which he did again in another movie in the late 80s called Always, from 1989.
Okay.
Where again, Richard Dreyfuss basically plays Richard Dreyfuss. But
Okay.
it's something that he's very good at.
Yeah.
It's a type that he does well.
Yeah. He's a good actor.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of Hollywood actors that are types. You know, like you almost sit there writing a film. I mean, I guess someone does. And it's almost like, oh, he's a Richard Gere type. So Richard Gere plays a certain type, and those kind of actors just fill their roles really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So those were
What's Richard Dreyfuss or Richard Gere's type?
smarmy.
Swarmy.
Yeah,
He's a swarmy man.
smarmy. Yeah, this smarmy man.
I thought he would be the romantic.
No, like a narcissistic
What
kind
about
of
Officer
love
Nick?
himself. But yeah, but again, even in that, he's the kind of
And what about Pretty in
egotistical.
Pink? Yeah, he did play kind of a jerk, and
He's just
some
very
movies.
narcissistic, love himself, smarmy shit.
I
I
still
think.
like him.
So do I. He just plays that part very well.
Yeah, he does. I probably love him for that. Just like Ben Affleck, I only like him in asshole roles.
But that's just him playing himself.
Yeah. And so when he's an asshole,
Douchebag.
yeah, when he tries to be all serious, I don't like it. But when he plays a douche, like in
When he-
Dazed and Confused or Mallrats or something, I'm loving it.
When he plays himself.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. He excels at playing himself. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I get it.
back to Jules.
Yep.
So yeah, and then I mean, we could whittle through complete facts of this movie, but we won't bore everyone. Just for the simple fact that I think a lot of people kind of know the basics of what happened on Jaws and how cumbersome the whole production was, and how this big mechanical shark was just a complete nightmare to work. And at certain points, they were kind of considering whether they're even going to be able to finish the film because it just kept sinking every time they put it in the sea.
Yeah.
And it would mechanically just stop. And so they avoided showing the shark for so long. Not as a Spielberg never sat there and thought, I'll be really clever and not show my monster until the end. It was just the fact that it wasn't ready, so they couldn't use it basically.
Yeah.
Which I think is really funny, but that works out
Better.
absolutely. It works out for the movie brilliantly.
Yeah, because it brings the tension.
It does, yeah. And
It builds it up.
And let's face it, as much as I love it, and I know a lot of you guys love it too, it is a big rubber monster, isn't it? Let's not beat around the bush. It is a big rubber monster.
I like rubber monsters.
That's a whole other episode.
I could just say though that I am not exaggerating when I will never ever go in water in the ocean. Thank God I was born in the Great Lakes state, surrounded by lakes where there is no sharks. So I'm all for that. Take me to a lake and I'm happy, but I will not go to the ocean. I've been to the Gulf of Mexico. I thought there were sharks next to me and I was freaking out, and it's dolphins. And I will just not, I think I went up to the water in my ankles and that still freaked me out.
Yeah, I think as well, the fact that you don't see the shark.
Yeah, well, you can't see the shark.
So you're using your imagination.
Yeah.
And now you saying you're scared of swimming wherever is
Yeah.
basically you
Think my imagination
using your imagination.
run
Yeah,
away.
and that's why the film works.
Yeah.
Brilliantly. And in the opening, the little boy, Alex Kent, who dies near the beginning, it's just such a wonderful sequence. Watching it again, if I watched it the other day with my son, it was the first time, and that's what I wanted to point out. It was the first time in probably about 10, I know it seems weird, I love the film, one of my 10 favourites, but it was about 10 years since I've last watched Jaws.
Yeah, you guys don't get the exposure.
No, and
as we do in the States.
I don't return to films that often.
Yeah.
As much as I love certain movies, I don't return to them that often. I like to leave big gaps between them so I can appreciate them almost like a new film again. And it's very difficult with Jaws because it was one that eventually, after I watched it for a second or third time, I owned it, recorded off TV and watched it a lot. So I was exposed to it a lot via a video recording that I had. And then as I grew older and started watching other things, I wanted to try and forget bits of it so I could enjoy it again. But it's so, in my brain. But in saying that, first time in 10 years, watched it the other day, just wanted to see some of those scenes I remember really well held up. And I thought the opening scene with Chrissy dies on the beach at the beginning at night, the night swim that opens Jaws, I think it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Such an iconic scene, riffing on
drunk-
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
And the drunk
completely.
boyfriend who just passes
out on the
He doesn't
beach,
even
yeah.
care, yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on, does he?
No.
And then the little boy on the beach, like we were just saying, I think it's incredibly brilliant piece of cinema that works wonderfully. Also have to put a big shout out for John Williams' score, which you had a soundbite earlier in the show. I think Williams' score is completely pivotal to that movie.
Yeah.
And is a major part of that film's success.
Oh yeah, definitely, because that brings on the tension. Also,
Completely.
that score.
I think I remember reading once that when he first played it for Spielberg at a piano, he had left John Williams to go away and do the score for him. And when he sat there, when he met up with John Williams, he said, "Can you just show me what you've done? What score how it looks?" And he kind of just painted basically these two notes on a piano. And Spielberg just kind of looked at him and said, "Is that it?"
Yeah.
And then John Williams was kind of like, "Yeah, that's all you're going to need."
Yeah.
And apparently this is some famous conversation that took place. And John Williams knows best.
Obviously.
Hence the Oscar. He won the Oscar for Best Score that year. And also a big shout out to Verna Fields, who edited the movie. Because again, there's a great story that Spielberg shot so much of this movie. And like I said, with all the problems that he had with the shark and stuff, so he kind of handed in about, 12 hours of footage or something ridiculous. And Verna Fields kind of pieced it together to the 2-hour movie, which we know it as now. So, she won an Oscar for her work as well, by the way, may I add. But a lot of people kind of overlook her contribution to it, which I think is equally as important.
Of course.
As Spielberg's.
Yeah, because the movie wouldn't have been put out if it wasn't for her.
Exactly. So, it's a great, collaboration between a lot of good people. And I always think when you're talking about the best films ever made, you have to judge a movie, for me personally, on everything, all the elements working, which is something I would say, someone said to me, "Ian, what makes a perfect movie?" For me, it's when all the elements come together. And when I say that, I mean the direction has to be really good, the writing has to be, really good. I think locations, the score, the pacing, I can't stress how certain directors just cannot pace a movie for the life of them, right? You must be able to pace a movie perfectly. You can't run out of steam in the middle. It can't drag on too long. It can't hit all the points too early. So pacing the movie is really, really important.
Well, that's where the editing would come in too, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why I think, if all those elements come together and you cast, obviously, finding the right people for the right parts, because so many good movies that I like, and I will always pick up on a slight flaw of someone in it not quite playing their part. And I'll always overlook it because everyone else is great, and this is great, and that's great, and I go, it's okay. But when everything works and everything's good, that's how I judge like a great movie.
Yeah.
And Jaws is a great movie.
It is. Loved it. And it spawned a few sequels.
It certainly did. Ones that I'm sure we're going to argue over now. So I'm sure we've had this argument before.
Yeah.
So first out the trap is the 1978 Jaws 2. Of course there was going to be a sequel. It made that much money. It could there not be a sequel? But pretty much, like I said, it was the first Hollywood blockbuster made a couple of years before Close Encounters and Star Wars. It changed the face of how Hollywood movies were made at that point. So of course there was going to be a sequel. Universal were behind it. Trying to get Spielberg back was going to be a nightmare, but they did try. But he just made Close Encounters and he wanted to move on, and we can understand that a young director finding his way. He doesn't really need to turn up for the sequel, which is he doesn't need to do him a favour, I don't think. So the next thing was trying to bring Roy Scheider back, some of the cast, give it the same kind of flavour that the first one had, which they didn't successfully manage to do. Obviously with Roy Scheider and Lorraine Gary and Murray Hamilton are all back from the first one. And again, you're in the same location. It's in Amity, which was, I'm pretty sure they're back in Martha's Vineyard. So yeah, that's good. Those are strong elements to me for the second one, that you've got reoccurring cast, reoccurring locations that everyone knows. It was directed by the Frenchman Jeanette Schwartz, who I think did a good enough job on it. Again, he was a TV director, but just previous to this, he directed the last film that William Castle wrote, a film called Bug, which was about those the cockroaches that turned to fire and stuff, which is probably one you would love. So we had experience of making a monster movie. I think he shot that one for Paramount, but he came in to direct it. Apparently he fell out with Roy Scheider there. There's a story that they fell out over some of the writing involved in it, and I think they might have come to blows even. Really? So yeah, it's quite a stressful time between them two. Well,
that always sucks when you have somebody that you don't want to work with.
But yeah, he did it. I was actually trying to say about me on the show. He did a great job, I think. I think he did a really good job. Jaws 2, right? Again, it's a similar thing. A new shark turns out, starts terrorizing it. It's pretty much Jaws 1 all over again, to a degree. But this time, for the last 45 minutes, instead of sending 3 old men out on a boat to fish for it, we are supplied with a bunch of teenage kids, which is great for me because made in 1978, it predates the whole slasher movement. So it almost feels like a slasher at sea, where you've got a load of teenagers getting killed one by one by
Was there
a
sex?
monster.
Were they having sex on the boat?
Of course they are. PG rated sex.
PG
The good
sex.
stuff.
On the boat in
The good
front of
stuff.
everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Like
Over the jumper.
second base?
Yeah.
Oh, over the jumper.
Over the jumper.
What, like humping or something?
Feel the bumps and lumps. Yeah.
Feel the bumps and lumps.
So
Ew,
yeah,
that's
it's all
kinda
good on. So
nasty.
yeah, it's
In
just
front of everybody. It was like an orgy on the boat.
precursor. I always see it as the precursor to the slasher. I think it fits what was going on at that time. That's what I'm saying. You know, Halloween came out, and you had all these teenagers being chased by a killer. So basically, we got teenagers chased by a monster on the sea.
And the guy from Christine.
Oh, Keith Gordon. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Love him.
I think it was his
Back
first
to School, Christine.
Dress to Kill. Yeah.
Love
Legend of Billie Jean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's great. You know, and I'm pretty sure it was his first movie. And there's a few other, I'm sure there's a few other faces that run a few things at the time, which the names are escaping me now.
Yeah.
I remember the kiddie from Dog Day Afternoons in it as well. Anyway, I think it's a fine sequel, you know, and the fact that the shark's got this big burn down the side of him gives him a distinct look. If you ever see photos of the shark, it's got that burn.
Did they use the rubber shark?
Of course, yeah. He's back. Bruce is back.
Bruce is back. Was it the same Bruce or a
I'm not
replica
sure.
of Bruce?
It's got to be a replica, isn't it?
A bigger and better Bruce?
I think Bruce is retired at this point.
Oh, poor Brucey. I think, yeah, he's retired somewhere. If I remember correctly, seeing photos recently.
Yeah, I think he's been restored recently.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Bruce obviously is the rubber shark from the first one, named after Spielberg's lawyer, just in case you're thinking we've conjured up some character who's nothing to do with Jaws.
Oh, I like Brucey. Brucey the shark.
Okay, so just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, which was the tagline for the second one. It's a great tagline. That's where the tagline comes from. Everyone mistakes it up with Jaws, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Jaws 2 tagline. So Jaws 2 comes out, you know, obviously doesn't make the same money as Jaws 1, but I've always felt it's never going to be better than the first one. Forget that. I've never even thought it would be. But I think it's a very serviceable, well done, respectable sequel, and I really like it.
I need to give it another go.
You definitely do.
Now that these teenagers are having sex, humping on the boat.
Bumps and lumps on the boat.
Bumps and
Definitely
lumps.
give it another look though.
Yeah, is that the one? Yeah, I kind of remember with at the end where Brody is trying to save the kids from the boat.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Oh, come on. If you haven't seen it already, then you have to. You know it now. Sorry. You know it.
Okay. So that one comes out, 1978, makes some money, does his little thing, and then there's a gap. And I'm not sure why there's a gap. There's sort of a 4-year gap before they made another one. Then when they finally did came back for Jaws.
It was a really good one.
Everything's better. I'm just gonna close my mouth now.
I'm just gonna say everything's better in 3D.
Okay, so it came out, Jaws 3, 1983, which is the year of 3D, or at least the year that they tried to bring back 3D. Same year as Friday the 13th, which I know you really like.
3D.
Does the 3D, yeah, same year, yeah. So 1983 is a big year for let's try 3D. You know, we're making these sequels, let's try them in 3D. So Jaws 3 comes out in 1983, which is directed by Joe Alves, who was a production designer on the first one. So he's got Jaws links. I really should do my research as well, because I can't remember who wrote it now off the top of my head either. But Jaws 3 is basically... Maybe you should do the plot for this
I remember seeing it at the drive-in.
Oh, you were okay. You got experiences of this one.
Yeah, I was very young. I can't remember when we went because it was a double bill of Fright Night, and so it had to be like 88 maybe that.
Please tell me that Fright Night played first.
I think it did, but I still stayed for Jaws 3D. And
in an empty parking lot.
No, everybody loved it. It was so great.
As tumbleweeds blow by.
No, it was such a great movie. I loved it.
Yeah.
And just the floating head that comes at you towards the screen. The shark that's in the aquarium that tries to break through. You had Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. Leah Thompson and Dennis Quaid. There's a cast there.
Yeah. There's
even a good idea there. It's a sea world where they're...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, like it's a touristy place.
Yeah. Loved it.
Where they capture the shark.
People are eating dinner and Jaws comes up.
Yeah, because he comes to rescue his I love it.
His baby
yeah,
shark.
this is when Jules starts getting sick. In my opinion, Jules 3 is when it loses
again.
the plot, and we go, and it will continue this way. But Jules turns up to kind of save his child or something, and bashes up SeaWorld, and swallows a guy with a bomb in his hand, and some terrible teeth come at the screen in 3D, which I know Hope would love, and they chatter at the screen, and it's just
love it.
What it's all that about.
It's so great.
It's so poor.
It's so great. It's poor and good. That is what makes film. It is poor, bad, good stuff.
Just bad.
I disagree.
Okay. So yeah, Jaws 3 is what it is. But again, this one doesn't really make a lot. It's not a massive box office thing again.
No.
And like I said, the kindest thing I can say about Jaws 3 is I think there's a really good idea in there somewhere. It's just not quite executed that well. And because they're playing into the 3D stuff, I think it takes it away from the movie, for me, personally.
It enhances everything 3D. I don't even know how you can say that. 3D enhances everything, except Freddy's Dead or whatever that one was. That was just crap.
Yeah, that was terrible, by the way. Also, I mentioned earlier about Jaws 1 opening with a sequence which is kind of a semi-homage to Jack Arnold, again, the great 1950s director that I mentioned earlier on. And at the beginning of Jaws 1, there's Chrissy goes for the swim and you get the underwater shot, which is a homage, in my opinion, to Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is also made by Universal Studios. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Jaws 3 is almost... the plot is almost Revenge of the Creature, which was a sequel to Creature from the Black Lagoon, where they're, again, at a SeaWorld type place and they capture the creature and take him back there and he breaks loose and sort of terrorises the complex. So it almost feels like there's a lot of... For me, again, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it feels like there's a lot of connections to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah,
and the old Universal Monster movies, which I think Jaws plays up to quite nicely. Mm-hmm. Okay, but if you really think that Jaws 3 was bad, it is nothing compared to Jaws 4 that would come out in 1987. This is literally, I think it's well known for being one of the worst films ever made, or it's quoted as being... If you look, it is quoted as being one of the worst films ever made, which I completely agree with, and I love Jaws as well. Yeah. But this is just utter... shit.
Yeah, because he makes a trip to the Bahamas or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, Jaws goes on holiday.
He goes on a holiday in...
Which is what they should have called this one. Jaws goes on holiday.
Which is just ridiculous.
Right.
Let's follow him down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Technically...
The same family.
Yeah. He sends some Christmas cards and stuff.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so this is Jaws the Revenge from 1987, directed by Joseph Sargent, who, is... kind of a journeyman director, as they say, just makes a bit of this and a bit of that. Most famous, White Lightning in 73 with Burt Reynolds. Mm-hmm. And also the brilliant original Taking a Pelham 123, which is fantastic. But we're a million miles away from those two. This is... I don't even know if Joseph Sargent even turned up to make this film. I don't know what was going on in this film. Basic plot this time is Lorraine Gary is back, Martin Brody's wife from the first one. The Martin Brody character is now dead. So she is bringing up the two sons from the first film, and they're also in the second one. And then they're in the third one, but do we have to talk about the third one again?
Yeah, because it's great. It's 3D.
Okay. This one feels like it continues a little bit more from part 2, if I'm being honest. And so her two sons are now older. One of them's moved away, married, has a daughter of his own, has his own family. And the youngest son is now policeman, just like his dad was. And the film starts off with his son, her youngest son, Sean, getting killed on a boat, which is probably the best scene in the whole film because it's so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. The fact that the shark jumps at the water and bites his left arm off, and then jumps back out and bites his right arm. He's strategical about how he's doing this. He's a little bit like
smarter.
No,
he's a traveler.
No, it's just ridiculous. It's like, if you eat a roast dinner, you have a strategical way of eating it.
Yeah.
Everyone, we all have a strategical way of eating a roast dinner. I swear we do. You'll do the veg first, and you'll save
the good stuff for last.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And Jules does the same. I'll have your left arm, your right arm. Now I'll have the junk. Well, yeah. Anyway, and that scene is really funny. It's not meant to be, but it is really funny.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I need to get, Lorraine, the mum, who's the central character this time, is like, I need to get away from here. I'm going to go and visit my son who's in the Bahamas, as Hope already mentioned, where Jules thinks, I killed the son, he tasted quite good, and I don't like the family, so I'm going to go and follow them to the Bahamas and terrorise them and pick them off one by one in the Bahamas.
That's just ridiculous.
Whoever pitched that idea...
is very lucky, I would say, because they had it made. Somebody believed it. Somebody believed that Bruce was a traveler, a traveling Jaws.
I just wish, to make this film perfect, he wore like an Hawaiian shirt. They should put the Hawaiian shirt just as he travels to the house. And he drinks pina coladas, and he resembles the Eric Roberts character in that movie we watched every day. Anyway,
in the Lifetime.
He resembles that.
Doctor's Revenge, or Patient's Revenge.
See, and you even managed to get a Lifetime plug in there as well. Well done. So yeah, basically to the Bahamas he goes, and then he terrorizes Everson, who's out doing his thing with Mario Van Peebles, who puts on this awful Jamaican accent. Don't even start me talking about that. Another funny point of this movie is Michael Caine turns up.
Yeah.
And to this day, people still say, "What the hell is Michael Caine doing in Jaws: The Revenge?" Right?
Was he Doctor in it, or was he the love interest?
He's the love interest. He's the love interest of the man, and he plays Michael Caine. I love him to bits. He's British, for God's sake, right?
Yeah.
But he always plays Michael Caine to a degree.
Yeah.
Right. So he does his Michael Caine thing again, and everyone's to this day is still like, "What the hell was Michael Caine doing in Jaws: The Revenge?" And when they were filming, the sad thing is while they were filming Jaws: The Revenge, he won an Oscar for Woody Allen's Anna and Her Sisters. He won Best Supporting Actor, but he wasn't in Hollywood to pick up his award because he was too busy filming this ridiculous piece of shit in the Caribbean. Yeah.
So
he lost his chance to do a speech and all the rest of it
just for this
crap movie. And people famously said to him, Michael, have you seen this movie? And he said, "No, I've never seen it, but I've seen the house it bought, or the extension it built, or the holiday I went on." There's some funny Michael Caine quotes.
So he used that money for his...
exactly. And that's, it built an extra bedroom on his house.
Yeah.
So Michael Caine has no shame about this movie, but he missed his chance to pick up an Oscar, which is sad. But for everyone else involved, they should really be ashamed of themselves. It has the worst ending, I think, of any of the Jaws movies. I laughed about the chattering teeth in part 3. And the fact that some guy holds a bomb in Jaws' mouth. We get a point of view shot from out of Jaws' mouth in
because it's
part
3D.
3.
Yeah. You gotta see it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, but Jaws of Revenge completely trumps that ending by basically having Lorraine Brody on a boat doing the "smile, you son of a bitch" bit, which Brody does in the first one, which feels really corny here. Yeah. She basically does it, and they kill him by basically blinding him with a flashlight. I mean,
who knew that was the way to get Jaws?
Exactly. I mean, maybe they had watched Rear Window the night before, and remembered that James Stewart flashed Raymond Burr in the eyes with using a flashlight. I don't know what, but that's how they killed the shark. That
stopped them through the whole thing.
Well, they flash him in the eyes. He doesn't know where he is. He's all disappointed, and he jumps up out the water like a big salmon and lands on a spike sticking out the back. And it's complete.
Big salmon.
It's awful. It's just a terrible movie. I hate to say it. It's not even. I mean, me and Hope are probably making this sound really fun now. It's not. It's not fun. It's just shit.
No, because we watched it not too long ago, didn't we?
Yeah. So I keep kidding myself that maybe if I watch it this time, it will be better.
And I couldn't believe that he was a traveling Jawsman.
Traveling Wilbury.
Traveling man. Traveling mammal. Traveling mammal is what he was.
So yeah, and basically, rightfully so, the film flopped. And that was it. It was shut up shop on Jaws. So in 1987, Jaws came to an end. That was the end of Jaws. And it's funny because in Back to the Future, if you remember in Back to the Future Part 2, where he goes into the future, and there's a cinema playing in the background, and it's playing something like Jaws 19 or something, because at that point they were just making that many sequels.
Yeah.
That joke would have probably worked if they'd said Friday the 13th, because up until recently, we've still been making those. Jaws stopped on 4. It was never going to get to Jaws 19. It stopped at 4, and that's the end of that.
Maybe he got sucked in the Bermuda Triangle, because that's right by the Bahamas. He's still out there, you think?
He could be. Let's hope he stays out there. Anyway, what I will say, though, is that was the end of Jaws as we know it. And now we must consider that it will be remade one day.
Yeah, I think they tried in the past few years, since 2000s, make it more shark movies.
Yeah. But they've taken the CGI route, haven't they, which we discussed earlier. It's totally inferior.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate CGI with a passion. Like, you wouldn't believe how much I hate CGI. I hate it. It just takes me right out of a movie. And I know people will defend it and say, we're Lord of the Rings and all this, and that's fine. If that's your thing, that's fine. That's up to you. But for me personally, can't stand the stuff.
No, I'm not a CGI fan. There's only a very few movies that
Justify CGI.
justify CGI. Maybe
'Cause
like
we've
a
had-
King Kong, Godzilla, even though I still like the older ones better. But I'll let it go because I like those movies. And
Yeah, but
as
even if they
well.
made Jaws, even though I love Jaws character, Jaws the idea,
Oh,
Jaws...
it would look like that
I
Meg
don't want to
movie,
see...
right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Meg.
because you're talking about shark movies that recently made the CGI, and The Meg is a great example. And also there's a Deep Blue Sea, where the thing jumps out of the water and eats Samuel L. Jackson in one bite and looks like terrible. Like a cartoon jumps out the water.
Yeah,
Do you
and there
remember
was
that?
a recent one with Blake Lively, which I can't remember the name of. And the CGI in that was probably better than those ones that you mentioned. But
I know these are big Hollywood things as well.
yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. The story was stupid, but it was okay for a shark movie.
Because there's also been lesser shark movies to a degree, like Open Water and things, haven't there?
Yeah.
Where you
Don't see it.
absolutely,
I think.
and
Yeah.
we're spending. Trouble is that
haven't
you're spending
watched it in
2
a while.
hours out on a raft,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that really works or not. In saying that, I really enjoyed. I don't know why. I really enjoyed Larry Fessenden's movie Beneath, which we watched recently, which is completely trashed everywhere online, but I don't think it's that bad. Do you remember where he actually uses a physical fish, even though it looks like a big rubber
It
turd
looks
in
like
the water?
a big, what is it, anglerfish.
Yeah.
The angler.
But,
or piranha.
in all fairness, at least it's actually there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And stupidly, I mean, I love Larry anyway as a writer and a director, and even as an actor. So I kind of went with it. I might be a little bit biased because I like the guy, but I love the fact that he used the physical, even though it looks terrible. I love the fact that he used physical media. You know, he used a physical prop, shall we say, to get that.
Yeah. I actually didn't mind that one. It was kind of silly fun.
Yeah.
The Beneath. But it wasn't really a shark. It was just like a big fish.
It was almost modelled on Jaws, the way they filmed it, and the way you got certain shots of it. You can almost tell it was like a puppet in the water.
Yeah.
But it was quite refreshing. In the time of CGI, I found it quite refreshing.
Yeah. I thought it was very fun. The puppet coming out to eat the kids one by one. Which they all sucked, didn't they? Because they were killing off their own friends to save their butts.
Yeah, if you get a chance to see it, and you're in the mood for some...
Cheesy.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, if you're in the mood for a laugh, it's certainly a better movie than bloody Jaws: The Revenge.
That's true. I think so.
So, remakes.
Remakes.
It's going to happen one day.
Yeah. Maybe, why hasn't there been a remake of Jaws
I don't know.
yet?
It's one of the biggest myths to me, because everything has been remade now.
Oh, I know.
Like, everything.
Yeah.
I made a list the other day, which is something I'm always doing, making lists. Hope knows that. It's fed from my list. My lists are everywhere. But I basically drew up like a list of remakes of horror movies in the 70s into the 80s. And everything. I mean, I won't list them all because it would be here all day, but pretty much all done. Except for The Exorcist and Jaws.
The Exorcist and
Yeah,
Jaws.
which baffles me because they're two of the biggest ones ever made, two of my favourites. But, you know.
I know, I was just thinking that the only thing they did for The Exorcist was put it on TV as an extension.
Okay. I never
the
seen that, though.
movie. Yeah. The first season was good. Gina Davis. It was really good, but the second season it fell short because I think they were trying to rush it. I didn't think they were going to make a first or second season, so it was just rushed and out of place.
Was there any ties to the movie?
Yeah, I believe so. It's been a while since I watched it.
Okay.
But I believe she was Reagan. Gina Davis was.
Well, she was a
played
grown-up
Reagan.
Linda Blair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think, don't quote me on that because it's been a long time, but it was okay. And I was gonna say I don't remember them ever. There's so many exorcism movies though,
Possession
like the
movies.
possession,
Yeah, which
exorcism,
normally-
exorcism of
yeah.
Emily Rose, and that was like the start off, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To like a long list, and they're still being made today
Yeah.
of those types of movies.
To no effect though for me. I know. Again, I absolutely adore William Friedkin's movie from 1973, and there's, like you said, there's been many of those type of films made, and that one's like nearly 50 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still the model for me. It's still the one that works. It's the only one. I'll be really honest. It's the only one that has ever worked for me. It actually scared me.
The Exorcist.
Yeah, completely.
Oh yeah.
So even though we've got better effects, different ways of telling stories now, it's just nothing works for me in the same way. Nothing. And I mean nothing. And most of the time now, I even find myself getting bored with those kind of movies now.
Oh yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There's so many of them.
Yeah, and there's I don't know if you remember The Conjuring, which do you remember the sort of the last segment of the movie is like down in the bar with like Lily Taylor, and she's suddenly possessed, and it's almost like a big tagged on exorcism scene, and even that is just
when she was in the basement.
The basement, I should say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just, no.
Yeah. You think? I never put the two together, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's like they have to throw that extra scene in there. There has to be some sort of exorcism going. Everything's going to have a possession scene or an exorcism scene, and they're all pretty shit.
Yeah, I think so too.
In my opinion.
So no Jaws remake in the future?
No. It doesn't seem to be happening anyway.
I wonder why, though. That baffles me. Just because it seems like they would have got on it already.
Yeah.
So maybe the rights, they can't... They couldn't remake it.
I don't know. I don't think... Yeah, I mean, that's the weirdest thing, is I don't think Spielberg owns anything as far as Jaws is concerned, which I know he does with E.T. Mm-hmm. And that's why we've never had an E.T. sequel. Apparently there was something was signed at the time by Spielberg to say that they could never make a sequel to E.T., or I'm not sure about a remake. There was something. Mm-hmm. I remember reading that it quite shocked me that something was drawn out for Spielberg, that would never happen, and it hasn't to this day.
Huh.
So maybe there is some... I'm not saying Spielberg owns the rights or anything. I'm sure he doesn't. I'm not really sure why Jaws has never been remade. I'm glad.
Yeah. No, I'm glad too, but it would never be the same and would never have the same effect because you have that chemistry of actors and the score, and it's not going to be that Halloween 2018 shit. You can never do it ever again. You can't remake something because it would turn into Halloween 2018.
That would be good for
bullshit.
Anyone. Yeah, exactly.
No.
We're not lovers of that at all, yeah.
No, sorry. It just didn't, the mask thing didn't get to me.
I mean, do you have a favourite scene from Jaws? The whole franchise in general. Is there any sort of scene from any of them that...
Well, like you said, the beginning of Jaws was kind of, where the girl's just swimming and she gets tugged a couple times, tugged.
Which they really did. She was on like a harness, or she was being pulled by something. They actually did.
I would be freaking. And I
think, I don't know. She broke a rib or something. So the actual scream that you can hear is real. Because,
really?
Yeah.
She broke a rib.
Something, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a broken rib, but yeah, that's a real...
Probably because the jerk.
Yeah. And it's a real cry, which is brilliant. I mean, it's great for the audience, not so good for the actress, but completely works. And then, sorry, Hope.
Yeah, no, I think that would probably be the scene that always freaked me.
The most?
Yeah, it's dark, the water... You're going
Something's
swimming,
under the water.
Something's under the water.
Yeah.
It freaks me. Yeah, I still get freaked out by that movie.
What about the scene in part 2 where he pulls the helicopter down?
Pulls the...
Jaws.
Oh, Lord.
Do you remember when Jaws eats the helicopter? Ask anyone who's seen part 2 and loves part 2, and they will remember Jaws pulling the helicopter down.
And you love that movie.
Absolutely. With all my heart. It's incredible.
Over part 3.
Oh, God, easy. It still has the flavour of the first one. Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
A little bit.
To bring it back, though, to the original, to come full circle here, when it was released, obviously, in 1975, it influenced not only its own sequels, but also a kind of subgenre within... I mean, is Jaws a horror movie? I mean, that's something we didn't discuss either.
It was on the list of 100 scariest movies.
I mean, is it an action movie? Is it an adventure movie? I mean, Jaws is almost like unclassified.
He's the traveling man movie.
He is by the fourth one, yeah. But it's one of those kind of films that, when horror fans list their favourite horror films, in general, a lot of my friends anyway, you always get to the point you think, oh, can I put Jaws in? Can I include Jaws? And we always find ourselves discussing, can I include Jaws? And I think, well, I personally think you can.
I would say it's a horror.
I think it's, it fits the monster movie thing perfectly.
Of course, and it horrifies me. Like,
exactly,
that's the thing that you have to think about. Does it make you still feel the same way today? That it brings into actual reality, because I think it was based on something that could happen in real life.
Yeah.
I think it's horrifying.
Yeah. Definitely. No, yeah. So, okay. So to saying it is a horror movie and we're happy to roll with that, which I am. It influenced a whole host of movies that were known as nature's revenge movies, which is a subgenre we need to talk about because
nature's revenge.
Yeah, trust me on this.
Is ants going to be in there? What is...
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. It basically spawned Grizzly, most famous, which is the big bear, which is great, by the way. I love it. It's such a Jaws rip-off. The whole structure of the movie is completely Jaws, but I love it. William Girdler, 1976. Fantastic movie. But also, you've got Alligator in 1980. Piranha.
What about Night of the Lepus?
Yeah. Which...
one of my favorites.
Yeah, one of Jeff's favourites as well.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I mean, it's just great fun. I mean, yeah, it's trashy. A lot of these films are trashy. Squirm, which is another one I know you love.
Love Squirm.
Yep.
Love that movie.
So Jaws, that's the kind of impact that Jaws had. It was like, oh, what should we have? Should we have giant rabbits, ants,
alligators?
Piranha, yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Bear, whatever. So it did spawn a whole, subgenre all of its own, which is really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I do like a lot of those movies. I always find them really fun, even though they are carbon copies of Jaws to a degree. I think Alligator is my personal favourite of all.
I love it.
Yeah, it was a wonderful movie. I think it stands up on its own as a movie.
What about...
I don't include... No, I love it, right? This is the thing, right? I don't ever include that movie. I see it turn up on lists for this kind of thing, and that annoys the hell out of me. Only because I love it. I love that movie. Yeah. Right? Interesting, though, there is a Jaws link here.
To that movie?
Yes.
Okay. And that is the name of a movie, by the way.
Yeah, and it's a great one. As far as I can see, it's a great low-budget 70s movie where a guy kind of turns into a snake. Played by Dirk Benedict from the A-Team.
The A-Team, the
Face. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Face.
But the movie was made by Universal, and it was made by the same producers who did Jaws. Names completely fail me now. But they did it just before they did Jaws. Okay. So it was the sort of their film before they moved on to Jaws. And in terms of, their influence on cinema, there's a big leap from to Jaws. The greatest thing, while we're on that subject, and it is a great little movie, if you get a chance to go and look for it, it's 1973, and it stars Dirk Benedict and Stover Meyer. Yeah, just before Jaws, And it's just the producers of Jaws made that film just before Jaws, right? But the title of it is brilliant, isn't it? I mean, can you imagine ringing up your local cinema and asking for listings? Are you playing later? And they're like, sorry?
How are you supposed to?
I don't know. Exactly. Can I have 2 tickets for it?
I never thought about that.
I always did, yeah. It cracks me up to this day.
What did you
kids get up to last night? Oh, we watched...
that snake movie. Can I have 2 tickets for that snake movie?
Yeah. I'm sure though some young kid is gonna.
But I would have loved that.
Some young kid is gonna want you to say it though. He's not gonna let you get away with the snake movie. He's gonna keep.
Excuse me. Yeah, what did you say?
Which one? Yeah, which one?
What is that movie? I don't know that snake movie.
Yeah. And we're probably gonna make ourselves laugh at that joke now for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I wish I was around at that time.
So you could have went. Yeah. But all jokes aside.
Give me the.
Yeah. All jokes aside, though, it is a generally good little movie, and I really do like it.
It is. Love it.
Yeah, and it gets lumped in with all those Nature's Revenge movies, but and there's so many to go through and look through.
Nature's Revenge.
Yeah, look it up.
That's actually
Piranha.
a genre.
But yeah, Joe Dante's Piranha is brilliant. I was like, you're a massive fan. Yeah. But I think that one's a perfect little movie as well. Even the beginning opening scene sort of references Jaws. It's very clever at riffing on Jaws. And John Sayles wrote that one. He also wrote The Howling from Joe Dante. Also wrote Alligator. And I could wait on about these films all night because I really like them. They're a personal favourite of mine, that whole subgenre that was spawned. People were trying to argue with it, but in my opinion, it was spawned by the success of Jaws. That's when those films were made.
Well, obviously, it came before it.
Are we still doing that joke? Why not? Okay, well, that pretty much takes us...
It makes me laugh.
Yeah, I've noticed. That brings us to the end of episode 1, where we've discussed Jaws.
Jaws. One of the most horrifying movies made.
Absolutely.
Ever. Ever.
Yeah. Jaws.
Ever. Jaws.
Okay, enough of this tomfoolery.
I wish they would do like Freddy versus Jason, maybe like a Jaws in a movie. You know what I mean?
Why not? Yeah. Maybe we should write that.
Oh yeah, that's our next movie. It's coming out.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Jaws, I want to know why. Basically, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, where have you been?
Yeah, Totally.
For like how many years now? Almost
40 odd years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you get a chance to go and watch it on the big screen, which it currently seems to be playing at the moment, I've missed my chance now, which I'm really gutted about, because I always said once they ever show that movie back on the big screen, I will be there.
I know, and we weren't.
And we've let ourselves down. So,
yeah.
Shame on us. Anyway, episode 1, Jules, I hope you enjoyed it, had as much fun as me, and Hope certainly did recording it. And hopefully you'll want to hear some more. So I guess this is time to say the goodbyes for this show. Before we go, though, I just want to add that if you want to be part of these discussions...
Yeah, definitely join us on our Sound and Vision page on Facebook. Look us up. We have a great group of people on there.
Yeah.
And you can join in on the future discussions of our shows.
Exactly, yeah. You can feel part of the show by leaving your comments and stuff. So yeah, get involved for definite.
Yeah.
But as of this one, episode 1, just leaves me to say thanks for listening. And this is Ian saying goodbye.
And this is Hope saying goodbye.